Imagine waking up tomorrow to a news alert that shatters everything you thought you knew about the Iraqi dinar. Your phone is blowing up, your investment grew in a frenzy, and for a single, heart-pounding moment, it seems like the years of waiting have finally paid off. That elusive revaluation, the RV, has happened. But what if that very moment, that very headline, was designed not to make you wealthy, but to keep you chasing a ghost? The truth behind the screens is far more complex and less glamorous than the viral videos and cryptic gurus would have you believe. And today we are going to pull back the curtain completely. The narrative of the Iraqi dinar's imminent revaluation, or RV, and its supposed listing on the Forex market is a tale that has been spun for over a decade. A powerful story that preys on hope and the universal desire for a life-changing windfall. It is a story built on a foundation of half-truths, deliberate misinterpretations of financial processes, and a fundamental misunderstanding of what it truly takes for a nation's currency to become a stable, globally traded asset. Let's be unequivocally clear from the outset. Based on every measurable economic indicator, every statement from international financial bodies like the International Monetary Fund, and the stark reality of Iraq's ongoing political and economic challenges, the prospect of a sudden dramatic revaluation to the levels often fantasized about online in 2025 is not just unlikely. It is a statistical impossibility that ignores the very principles of macroeconomics. The term Forex listing itself is a misnomer that creates immense confusion. Currencies are not listed like stocks on an exchange. The Forex market is a decentralized global marketplace where currencies are traded in pairs, and a currency's presence there is not an event, but a consequence of its stability, liquidity, and the world's trust in its issuing nation. The Iraqi dinar is technically traded in very limited and specific contexts, but this is a far cry from it being a major liquid pair like EUR, USD, or even a minor one that your average retail Forex broker would offer with ease. This crucial distinction is often glossed over, replaced with exciting but meaningless phrases like "who's on the digital platforms" or "the banks are ready," which sound promising but contain no substantive financial truth. The reality is that Iraq remains heavily dependent on oil revenues, which are themselves subject to volatile global prices, and its economy is still struggling with corruption, infrastructural deficits, and political instability that prevents the kind of fiscal and monetary reforms necessary for a strong currency. The Central Bank of Iraq's primary focus has not been on engineering a thousand-fold increase in the dinar's value, a move that would instantly destroy what remains of their export economy and create hyperinflation overnight, but on achieving a slow, painful, and managed stability against the US dollar, a goal they are fighting for with incremental measures like tightening monetary policy and promoting a digital payment ecosystem to reduce cash reliance. The fantastical RV stories completely ignore the catastrophic consequences such an event would have for Iraq itself. Imagine every Iraqi citizen suddenly becoming a multimillionaire in dollar terms. The local economy would cease to function, as the cost of a loaf of bread would skyrocket to thousands of dinars, rendering the savings of ordinary Iraqis worthless and paralyzing the country. This is not a secret that they don't want you to know. It is basic economics. The entire narrative is sustained by a sophisticated ecosystem of YouTube channels, blogs, and online forums that profit from your continued attention, selling premium updates, membership tiers, and sponsored financial tools that promise insider access to information that does not and will never exist. They use a language of secrecy and imminent revelation, pointing to outdated IMF documents, misinterpreting technical banking reforms, and cherry-picking vague statements from Iraqi officials that are then presented as coded confirmation that the event is just days away. This cycle has repeated itself for years, with specific dates like the end of a fiscal year, a political election, or a global banking holiday coming and going without a single change in the exchange rate. Yet the community simply moves the goalposts, inventing a new reason for the delay and a new date to anticipate, ensuring the hope and the revenue stream never dies. The emotional toll this takes on individuals and families who have invested their life savings into this dream is immense and is the real unspoken tragedy of the dinar saga. You are not being told to research, you are being told to have faith, and in the world of international finance, faith is the most dangerous currency of all. So if the dream of a sudden, miraculous RV is an economic fantasy, what is actually happening with the Iraqi dinar? And where does the constant stream of news originate? The reality is a slow, grinding, and often frustrating process of economic reconstruction that is nowhere near as exciting as a secret overnight revaluation. But it is the only process that has any basis in fact. The Central Bank of Iraq, or CBI, has been engaged in a multi-year struggle to stabilize the currency's official exchange rate, which has been pegged at around 320 dinars to the US dollar for some time, But the real story is in the parallel market where the value has fluctuated wildly, sometimes exceeding 600 dinars to the dollar, revealing the deep-seated lack of confidence in the currency itself. The CBI's recent policies, which are often mislabeled as the first steps to the RV, are actually desperate attempts to close this gap and unify the exchange rates, a fundamental prerequisite for any future stability. These measures include raising the key interest rate to combat inflation, which now sits at a significant percentage, and aggressively promoting electronic payments and banking inclusion to reduce the massive amount of physical cash circulating outside the banking system, a phenomenon that fuels the black market and undermines monetary control. The international community, led by the IMF and the World Bank, is not dictating a revaluation schedule, but is instead insisting on a suite of difficult reforms as part of broader financial agreements. These include reducing rampant public sector corruption, dismantling the expensive and inefficient state-owned enterprise sector, and diversifying the economy away from oil, which still accounts for over 90% of government revenue. Every piece of legitimate financial news from Baghdad or Washington regarding these reforms is immediately seized upon by the RV community, stripped of its context, and repackaged as a trigger for the big event. For instance, the development of Iraq's national electronic payment system, known as the Iraq Card or similar initiatives, is a practical tool to reduce corruption in salary payments and welfare distribution, but online it is portrayed as the activation of the global digital dinar, ready to be switched on at a moment's notice. Similarly, routine meetings between Iraqi officials and the U.S. Treasury Department about banking compliance and anti-money laundering protocols are twisted into secret summits to finalize the new exchange rate. This creates a perpetual motion machine of misinformation. A real news event occurs. It is misinterpreted and amplified through a network of influencers. Hope and engagement surge. And when nothing happens, a new conspiracy emerges to explain the delay, often involving the international banking cartels or shadow governments who are supposedly suppressing the RV to maintain their control. This cycle is immune to facts because it is powered by emotion and a sunk cost fallacy where admitting the truth now would mean admitting that years of belief and investment were wasted. The recent fluctuations in the parallel market rate, which saw some temporary strengthening of the dinar, were not a controlled test of a new rate, but a direct result of the CBI injecting billions of dollars into the market and implementing strict new regulations on currency auctions and international transfers to curb the dollar's flight out of the country. Temporary fix that does not solve the underlying structural weaknesses. The much-hyped Delete the Zeros campaign, which has been discussed for over a decade, is another classic source of confusion. This is not a revaluation, but a potential redenomination, where 3 zeros are removed from the currency notes, so 1,000 dinars becomes 1 dinar. The relative value remains the same. It would be like exchanging one $10 bill for 2 $5 bills. You have different notes, but your purchasing power is identical. This technical process is constantly misrepresented as the revaluation itself, creating false milestones that inevitably lead to disappointment. The hard, unsexy truth is that Iraq's path to a stronger currency is measured not in days or months, but in decades, when it hinges on achieving political stability, defeating systemic corruption, and building a diversified modern economy, goals that remain frustratingly distant in 2025. The real RV will be so gradual you likely won't even notice it, a slow creep of a few percentage points per year over a generation, a story that will never trend on YouTube, but is the only one written in the ledgers of real economic progress. This brings us to the most critical question you must now ask yourself: where do you go from here? Having armed yourself with this reality check, the landscape of dinar information should look fundamentally different to you, and your role within it must transform from a passive believer into an active, skeptical investigator. The emotional allure of the dream is powerful. We are hardwired to hope for the life-changing solution that lifts us out of our financial anxieties, but it is precisely this vulnerability that the misinformation ecosystem is designed to exploit, and breaking free requires a conscious decision to value truth over comfort. Let this be the moment you change your criteria for what constitutes reliable information. From now on, demand primary sources over second-hand interpretations. Seek out data from international financial institutions like the IMF and the World Bank, whose published reports on Iraq are publicly available and detail the stark challenges, not secret triumphs, and prioritize the analysis of independent economists who have no dinar to sell and whose reputations depend on factual accuracy, not viral engagement. When you see a new, explosive video title promising final confirmation, pause and apply a simple filter. Is this person providing a verifiable, on-the-record statement from a seated central bank governor or the finance minister? Or are they offering a reading of the situation based on anonymous contacts? and intel? Are they presenting a specific, actionable economic mechanism for how 100,000% revaluation would work without destroying Iraq? Or are they speaking in spiritual terms about divine timing and the light at the end of the tunnel? This is the crucial separation between analysis and prophecy. And in the world of finance, prophecy is a dangerous guide for your hard-earned money. Consider the sheer financial engine that your viewership fuels. Every click, every watch minute, every comment you leave in eager anticipation adds to the channel's revenue through advertising, super chats, and algorithm promotion, effectively monetizing your own hope and creating a perverse incentive for the creator to never, ever declare the journey over, because the end of the mystery is the end of their business model. Instead of waiting for a miracle from Baghdad, redirect that powerful hope and research energy towards building genuine, tangible financial security for yourself and your family through proven. If less glamorous means educate yourself on the principles of diversified investing, explore low-cost index funds that track the global economy over the long term. Focus on improving your personal financial literacy regarding debt management and savings, because true wealth is almost always built through consistent, disciplined steps, not a single lottery ticket. The greatest revaluation that can occur is not in a currency you hold in a safe, but in the value of your own knowledge and the security of your financial future, an asset that no market crash or failed prophecy can ever take from you. The truth behind the screens was never really about the Iraqi dinar. It was about us, our psychology, our desires, and our relationship with information in a digital age that rewards sensationalism over substance. You now have a choice. You can close this video and return to the cycle of hype and disappointment, or you can use this moment as a catalyst for a permanent shift, becoming an ambassador for reality within your own circles and freeing others from the endless weight. The most powerful call to action is not to like, subscribe, or ring a bell for more of the same. It is to break the cycle. It is to seek truth even when it is disappointing. It is to invest in your mind, not just in a dream. The reality check ends now. Your empowered future begins with your very next decision.